On your chapter 7 study guide, there are two that I want to go over that I went over in class with my in-person kids. So we're going to go over number 2 and number 4. So on page 92, it says, we all call Derry Superman or Muscles at one time or another, but one time Steve made the mistake of referring to him as all brawn and no brain, and Derry almost shattered Steve's jaw. Steve didn't call him that again, but Derry never forgave him. Derry's never really gotten over not going to college. So the question is, why did Derry get so angry at Steve for referring to him as all brawn and no brain? And you may have needed to look up that saying. So if I search that, all brawn and no brain, what it means is having great power or physical strength, but lacking mental acuity or intelligence. So basically it means you're really strong, but you're pretty dumb. You might be familiar with like brawny paper towels. It has that big, like burly guy in a plaid shirt. It looks like a lumberjack. You might be familiar with that. So why would Derry be so angry when somebody calls him all brawn and no brain? So it's not just, I'd be offended if somebody called me stupid too, but there's that extra layer for him, and it comes from here. So the fact that Derry knows he's really smart and wasn't able to go to college and works a roofing job, he is very strong because of his work, but he is still really sensitive about not being able to go to college. So your answer needs to include the idea of him being insecure because he couldn't go to college. He knows he's smart. He just isn't able to show that through his work. And number 4, why did Sandy have to move to Florida? So this one requires a lot of inferences, and some of the things that you need to infer are things that, because you live in 2020, you probably don't know. So we have to pull from what's highlighted here. She went to live with her grandmother in Florida, meaning Sandy. The options were either move to Florida or get married, and her parents almost hit the roof at the idea of her marrying a 16-year-old. And then Soda wasn't innocent. I'd been in on bull sessions, and his bragging was as loud as anyone's, but never about Sandy. So we want to put all those pieces together. Why would a teenage girl need to either move away or get married over something that is not innocent, that a boy would brag about? So you want to kind of piece little things together. The reason why Sandy is moving to Florida is because she is pregnant. So again, in 2020, we have like TV shows about 16-year-olds getting pregnant, but in the 1960s, it was more common for, if a teenager found herself pregnant, she would move away to live with like an aunt or a grandma, usually out of state, or at least far enough away from like the high school and all the people who would know you in your town. You'd have the baby, and then maybe you'd come back in a year or two once the baby was grown up. But because it was so shameful to be pregnant as a teenager, they kind of hid it. That doesn't really happen now, but that was what was happening here. So when you look at it, it was either move away or get married. It was less shameful for her to get married while she was pregnant, but her parents didn't want her marrying a 16-year-old. And then here, Soda's not innocent. He obviously has participated in creating this baby, and he usually bragged about, the girls that he had relationships with, but he had never done that about Sandy. So your answer here is she's pregnant, and that's why she has to move away. I wouldn't even focus on this because it's so subtle, but it does come up later as part of a character arc for Soda Pop, so I want to make sure you understand it. The other ones I think you should be able to look in the book and figure out. Remember that all of your answers should be original and not copied from the internet. It's really easy for me to tell when you've copied, so I don't give you credit for that. If you have any questions, reach out. Enjoy Chapter 7, and I will talk to you on Monday.